I've done, and I'm not boasting about it, I'm just saying that it's really something that's quite satisfying. And you hear stories that are quite unique and you cherish them for a very long time. I would suggest that not only you yourselves, but anyone who is watching this later, to try and give it a try. You know, go to the local nursing home, sit down with these people, try and talk to them, crack a few jokes, because there's not only satisfaction from the act of charity that you're doing, but also it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala glorifies, and perhaps through these acts and through these deeds we can try and seek nearness to the Ahlul Bayt, and particularly Imam al-Hussein on the Day of Judgment, inshallah. أستغفر الله لي ولكم هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much, Sheikh Mahdi. We just have a quick question and answer. If anyone has any questions. Yeah, Brother Hussein.
Thank you, Sayed, for your talk. It was most interesting to hear about how we should love the creations of Allah for no other reason except for the love for Allah. My question is, you mentioned sometimes it's difficult because you're talking with the elderly, and apart from the usual, you don't have much conversation apart from below the line. It becomes restricted. But then we also mentioned that they have experiences and stories and wisdom to share with us. Are there any examples that you might be able to share of how you might be able to approach that situation and ask for their experiences, or even just garner from their wisdom?
As in examples where I have done this?
Yeah, or even just suggestions for us to implement.
Well, I think it's as you mentioned, that the wisdom that they have is the product of many years of going through experiences that are in many ways similar to what we go through. Ultimately, the technology develops and progresses, but as human beings, we're all inherently the same. And the kinds of needs and desires and problems and issues that we go through are pretty much the same no matter what century you find yourself living in. So they've been through all of that, and they have gone through experiences that take a long time to simmer and to develop into a piece of wisdom that you could use. In fact, we have traditions saying that some of the prophets were appointed as prophets after they reached the age of 40, because the Quran refers to this, and the Hadith confirm it, because the age of 40 is a cutoff age for a new phase perhaps in a person's life. When you're 40, you look at things in a very different light than when you did when you were 17 or 20 or 25. Hence the need to seek wisdom and guidance from others. There's a hadith that says, هَلَكَ مَنْ لَيْسَ لَهُ حَكِيمٌ يُرْشِدُهُ. Perishes the one who does not have a wise person to guide him or her. And I think in this day and age especially, it's very difficult for us to accept to have to succumb or to submit to someone else's guidance. We have this rebellious attitude whereby we feel like we've reached our maturity and we don't need anybody's advice on anything. That rebellious attitude exists in the teenage years, but then it becomes second nature when we don't try and combat it or address it. But the hadith said that you need to have a guide, someone who's wise, someone who's intelligent, someone who's been through these experiences. And if you don't have this guide, you will perish, the narration states. So just a simple discussion, just a simple conversation you can have with them about various things. And listen, they're not infallible. They're going to give you advice that's not always accurate. It doesn't matter. But the likelihood of them offering something that's truly valuable is a lot more than what I could come up with, despite the fact that yes, we have access to knowledge, yes, we have perhaps we've acquired more knowledge and we've educated ourselves more than they did, but it's the experiences that they've accumulated. For instance, when it comes to marital issues, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have. Ultimately, marriage is something that you need to experience in order to reach that level of maturity where you You can handle another soul being your partner in pretty much everything in your life. And so when it comes to these matters, especially social matters, their advice is invaluable because they've seen it all, they've gone through it all.
Any more questions? Brother Muhammad.
Sorry. With this topic in mind and the week we have, do you have any narrations as to how Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein acted around their father and in the same way about the relationship between Fatima and the Prophet? We rarely hear anecdotes like this. I've heard how Imam Hussein never spoke when Imam Hassan spoke, and the relationship between the elder brother and not the younger brother. But in relation to this title, what narrations do we have in terms of the Alphabet?
Well, we have quite a lot. Aside from the obvious, I mean, the Quran says, for instance, when it comes to one's parents, Allah says, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Uff being the easiest, the simplest expression of frustration. Because all you have to do is blow some air out. And yet God says, do not even say this, because any indication of frustration with your parents is a transgression of their rights as your parents.